The Sports Scouting Report with Lieber King, brought to you by Harvey Autos in Shreveport, Bossier City, the name you've trusted for years. Geico, the insurance savings you expect. Supreme Chevrolet, expect more from Supreme Automotive Group in Gonzales.
Creed and Creed Law Firm, serious attorneys for serious injuries.
Bollinger Shipyards, 75 years of delivering high-quality vessels. Here's your host, Lieber King.
Hi, everyone. Lieber King, your host, the Sports Scouting Report podcast, and also owner of Louisiana Football Magazine since '97. We got a great guest today, a retired coach, newly retired, has coached a long time. We're going to let him tell you how long that is, and we'll talk about his background. But Rick Hutson, who has been a great coach to us with the magazine. I've interviewed him for 28 years of our 28 years that we've put out a preview, and he's recently retired. He was at Highland Baptist recently. He's coached in New Iberia, coached at Bastrop, coached all over St. Frederick's and Monroe, and in Nish, New Iberia, for over 20 years. We'll break it down when we come back. But we have Rick Hutson, who's newly retired, and we'll be right back.
Wow.
Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you.
Welcome back. Lieber King, your host, and want to go ahead and introduce a great guy who's just retired, newly retired, Rick Hutson. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Lee.
Coach, you've been a very, I guess say ally. Every time we sent out a questionnaire, you would fill it out. A lot of them we didn't get back right away. But you were always one, especially at Nish. And if you don't know what Nish is, New Iberia, if you're in North Louisiana.
Yeah, New Iberia Senior High.
But you were there for 20 years.
Right.
And most of that when I was around with the magazine. And you always send them the starting lineups, height and weight. And, you know, some of them would.
When I was late on them, it's because I didn't know who they were.
They were, yeah. You'd have them blank. You were honest. You're like, no tight end listed. No tight end this year. But coached at St. Fred's, you told me 5 years. Bastrop, 7 years. New Iberia, 20 years. Highland Baptist recently, 5 years. 40 years of coaching, easily. Your dad, you told me, coached for 50 years.
Yep.
We'll get into that later in the show. And you also coached a little bit Arkansas. Your dad did.
My dad coached in Arkansas.
In Texas.
And I had 2 years in Texas, and my dad coached most of his career, I think 37 years in Texas.
And your dad was at the famous Odessa Permian
Right.
school.
Right.
And Coach, how's it feel to be retired?
Well,
You did recently.
actually, it's today at noon.
Today at noon. Okay, I got you.
But I don't know. It's different now. You know, I'm not getting ready for next season for the first time in 40 years. So that part of it feels strange. But we'll see. We'll see what happens and where God takes me.
Everybody that's watching, this will be seen in North Louisiana too. People want to say, well, how did he go to St. Fred's and Bastrop? How did he end up in New Iberia? Because, you know, north and south.
So
What brought you to South Louisiana?
So I had gone to Texas and coached for a couple of years, and you know, there was this girl.
Okay. There you go.
And she ended up getting a job in Opelousas, and so it was a good opportunity for her. And I told her I'd always loved it when I came to Lafayette, and I said, well, let's move that way instead of her moving to Texas. Let's move down to the Lafayette area.
Go in the middle.
Right. And so came down and had a few interviews, and one of them was at New Iberia Senior High, and a couple of interviews later after that, that's where I started.
A lot of history there. You know, obviously Corey Raymond's a graduate coaching now. LSU.
Corey Raymond's first job was at Nish. He was a CECP coach at Nish.
You told me that right back.
And obviously Corey's a great coach. He didn't need me to get in the business, but I like to let everybody know where he started.
I think that's a good thing. You know, Johnny Hector with
Right.
A&M played at New Iberia.
Right.
Leroy Etienne went to Nebraska.
Right.
I mean, you coached, I think you were right after, but Marcus Clavel had come out of there.
Just came out. Marcus and Mark Roman were in the same class. They were in the class before I got there.
That's when Mark had that 2,000-yard rushing season.
Right.
Ended up being a DB at Ellis.
When I was at Washita, we got beat by Karen Crow on a field goal late in the game, and had we won that game, we would have played that New Iberia team with Clavel and Mark Roman. But
And if people don't,
Out one round early.
if people don't remember Marcus Clavel, because we're in an older bracket here, he was 6'8", 360 through the shot put, 62 feet, or it might have been more than
that. Yes.
But he was a big deal.
Yeah.
Went to Arkansas.
Right.
Quit football, but still threw the shot put.
Right.
Then he tried out for the Olympics and was close.
Probably was. Yes. Yes. He was as good a track athlete as he was a football player. Maybe better.
Loved to have seen him play pro ball, man. But
I think he had a neck injury that kind of ended his career.
We're going to take a break. We got Coach Rick Hutson at noon today, retired. I don't want to rush it or get him out of any trouble here, but we'll be back with Coach Rick Hutson. We'll be right back.
Supreme Chevrolet. Expect more from Supreme Automotive Group in Gonzales.
Welcome back, Lee Burkeen, your host. We're at Southside High School, if you notice where we're at. We're filming a bunch of shows today in the Lafayette area. Youngsville today, that's where Southside is. The Sharks, a sleeping giant, big program. Rick Hudson's with us, our guest, who's going to retire. I mean, it's not noon today when you see the show because we're taping it, but congratulating you for retiring soon. Is there a big old cake waiting for you today?
No, nothing like that. 9 holes of golf at least.
So there you go, 9 holes of golf. Hopefully it won't rain.
Right.
And you were telling me a story when you were coaching at North Louisiana, and Jamie Spencer was Player of the Year in Louisiana. Again, for any young listeners, he was 6 foot, 260, 240, running back, not fullback. Signed with Notre Dame. Lou Holtz was right after Jerome Bettis. But you told me a story about Jamie.
Yeah, so we coached against Jamie. I was at Bastrop at the time and coached against him all 3 years that he was in high school. And his senior year, they had a coaching change after his senior year. Nobody would leave before he graduated. And so I came on the new staff, and I was the offensive coordinator there at Ouachita. We were going through spring ball and time in 40s and things like that. And Jamie walked up. He'd just got through with track practice. And he said, "Why don't y'all time me in the 40? And one of the coaches said, "Man, you're not even warmed up right now." So, you pull a muscle, Lou Holtz.
And he's 260.
Well, we thought he was, he played at about 240, but he'd put on some weight. And somebody said, "Well, how much are you weighing now?" He said, "Oh, Coach, I got to lose some weight. I'm up to about 257. And so he went down there, took his, had just old basketball shoes on, took his warm-ups off, did a little stretching, and then ran a 40, and we all looked at our watches, and I said, "Well, I think I must have got the wrong time." And we all looked at our watches. We all had the same time. It was 4:57, and I always remember he ran a 4:57 weighing 257.
That's 6 foot tall.
Yeah. And
6 feet.
and I told the coaches, I said, all these years I've been telling our guys when I was at Bastrop, he puts his pants on just like you do.
Right.
Don't worry, just, hey, he's a man just like you. And I said, I got to go back and apologize.
That's got
Because they don't weigh 257 now on a 4.5.
No, I mean, heck, Fournette ran a 4.57 at 230, and that was
Right.
deal.
Right.
I think at the combine, and people go, "That's slow." I'm like, wait a minute, he's 230, not 180.
Big difference.
Yeah, right. He ain't Eddie Kennison's size at Washington Marion. Any stories about St. Frederick's, your time at St. Fred's?
It was interesting because we bumped up at that time that they went up from 1A to 2A, which in North Louisiana was a pretty big deal because of the district that they put us in. They put us in there with Spring Hill and Homer and schools like that. In fact, Homer went to the state finals one of those years that I was there. And big rivals with Ouachita Christian back at that time. Saul Graves was one of the players back then.
And the little running back that went to LSU back in the day.
Right. Jermaine
Sharp.
Sharp, that's it.
Yeah.
Sure was. So, North Louisiana plays a good brand of football as well. So, I guess the biggest stories from there is the kids that came out of our football program and didn't go play college football, but I know for sure of 3 of our players who are orthopedics right now. One of them became an NFL agent, Albert Elias.
Yeah,
had a bunch of players from LSU in the NFL before he had an untimely death at about age 41.
Who was that?
Albert Elias.
Albert. I didn't know that. Yeah, is that?
Yeah.
At first, I thought you were going to say Don Redmond. He was Ouachita. He left us too young, too.
Right.
Because when I go on the Ouachita gym, I see all the red, and I see his jersey.
Right.
Retired.
Right. I actually did my student teaching around the time that his mom was still teaching at Ouachita, Glenda Redden.
Come on.
Right.
Wow. And then Bastrop, you were there way before Brad Bradshaw.
Right. 2 or 3 coaches before him, back when they were still 5A.
And then you got to see that go through an era of like Reuben Randall.
Right.
And all those great Contreras, Aubrey, all those great. They had like 10 D1 linemen.
They really did. And had, the quarterback, run
Mackey.
So D-Ben had a good run of athletes. I guess the best athlete we had when I was there was a kid named Talance Sawyer who played at LB and played for Minnesota Vikings. And I guess his highlight was he sacked Brett Favre on Monday Night Football.
Come on.
Back when Monday Night Football was a really big thing.
Yeah. I remember when Howard Green sacked the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, Big Ben.
No.
And it won the Super Bowl because like 4th and 8 or something like that. And Howard Green, Dawsonville, Louisiana.
Right.
You always remember that.
That's right.
From Louisiana. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have more Rick Hutson, retired coach today. Now, we're going to be watching the show. It's going to be already, retired. We're taping it. But congratulations to Rick Hutson after over 40 years of football coaching. We're going to ask him some more questions when we come back.
Creed and Creed Law Firm. Serious attorneys for serious injuries.
Welcome back. Lee Burkeen, your host of Sports Scouting Report podcast, owner of Louisiana Football Magazine. We've got Rick Hutson, who's retiring today after 40 years of coaching. New Iberia, Bastrop, St. Fred's, Highland Baptist recently. Did a great job at New Iberia for 20 years. And we're just talking, telling stories, and he's done a phenomenal job. Rick, a story that you want to mention is that y'all played Acadiana 61-60.
Yeah, that was my second year at New Iberia. And went over and played Acadiana one night, and we were struggling at the time. I think we'd started the season 0-2 or 0-3, and we go over there, and I look up in the second quarter, and we're down 40-14. But we'd been moving the football. We just kept turning the ball over when we got in the red zone.
Okay.
And so I told our guys, I said, if we can just get a couple of back-to-back. So I told the special teams coordinator, we're going to onside kick until I tell you to stop. And we ended up getting a couple of those, and we went from 40-14 to 40-28 at halftime, and then came back in the second half and went down and scored and kicked a field goal at the end of the game to win 61-60.
That's incredible.
I didn't tell the special team coordinator anything, so when we went out there, we onside kicked again and recovered it at 61-60.
Wow.
But that was probably the craziest game I was ever involved in
40 years.
Right.
You had mentioned to me you helped one of the greatest coaches and one of the greatest men I've ever met, his first job. And he did a great job at Neville for a long time. Mickey McCarty.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I helped Mickey, but I was very fortunate. Mickey had graduated college, and at that point in time, was looking for a job right at the end of the summer. And our personnel director called and said, hey, look, I interviewed a young man. I really liked him. Why don't you give him a shot? And, of course, we brought him in, and I called the personnel director back about a week later, and I said, man, that's the best coach you since I've been here. But that was my last year at Bastrop, and I left there and went to Ouachita, and I tried to bring Mickey with me as an assistant, to be on the offensive staff but he had already committed to work for a friend over at Neville. And he said, Coach, I'd love to, but I gave my word that I was going to go to Neville. We'll see how it works out.
Otherwise, it was this close to going to New Iberia, huh?
No, to Ouachita.
Ouachita.
To Ouachita.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And but I knew from day one he was going to be a great coach.
I got to mention this, and you've seen at New Iberia, you've seen it all with Karen Crow and Acadiana, and you've seen the growth of Lafayette Christian and what they've done, and now Opelousas is doing really good. And you got Como, and we got teams here like Southside where we are today. I mean, there's just talent. Laurelville, even the small town of Laurelville, and you've seen that at Highland Baptist and Centerville. I mean, it's just talent everywhere, Coach.
Well, Louisiana is a football state.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody loves women's basketball and they love baseball.
Yeah.
But nothing generates the excitement like high school football and college football in Louisiana.
And then you go up north where you coached for a long time. I mean, you go to little towns like Caldwell, now Delta Charter, Delhi Charter, Faraday, Vidalia, all competitive. And then Oak Grove winning state championships every year in their little small town.
Right.
And you get the Mangum in that small town, and they're on the verge every year.
Right.
And then you get into the city of Ouachita Christian,
right,
St. Fred's, and Ouachita, and then go down the road a little bit to Ruston. And, I mean, it's just, and now you see the success. What's your thoughts on Ruston coming back, winning one? I mean,
I was there when Chick Childress was there. And so I remember we played them when I was at Bastrop, and that was not fun. That was when they won the state championship.
Brad Laird in that group?
Yes.
Rodney Young?
Probably the best high school team. Probably the best high school team I ever.
What I ever saw, too.
So, but we went over and played them one night, and they'd been putting 50 points on everybody and hadn't allowed a point. So late in the ball game, we get down near the goal line, and, of course, I think at that time they've got their second team in the game, but it's 48-0. And we're about to score, and we're saying, our kids are pumped up because we're going to be the first team to score on that Ruston team. And they put the starters back in, and
Get the shot.
And I told the coaches on the side, I'm not worried about that. I said, if we score, we want to score on the ones anyway. So on the last play of the game, we threw the ball in the end zone, and Rodney Young picked it off and ran it back 106 yards.
Who would have been?
So they still got their 50 points, and they still got their shutout.
To this day, I've never seen a 5A school in Louisiana or any school with 4 Power 5 senior running backs D1.
They were like I said, they were
Ramon Malcolm,
right,
Rodney Young, Bobby Williams,
right,
and then you had,
and they had a bunch of juniors on that team.
Yeah.
That'd be in Division I.
phenomenal players.
They were
And then
great.
Brad Laird, and he's been a coach forever.
Right.
But it's good to see them win it again. And it seemed like everybody was on that team with Fred Dean and Michael Brooks. But and Kyle Williams.
Right.
Oh, you keep going on and on. Burt Jones.
Right.
Coach, any final thoughts about, you already told me you're going to be golfing a lot, but anything else? Are you a fisherman? Or are you a hunter?
I might become one, but I'm not right now.
You told me you're getting used to not having to prepare.
It's different. It's a lot different because, if you're a football coach, it's not just 3 months out of the year. It's 12 months out of the year, and it's while you're sitting there supposedly watching TV and you're drawing up plays or watching a coaching video on trying to find another 3-man route.
Yeah.
So it's been different not preparing for that.
With food in the halls.
Right.
You need that 29th player to come out on a 30th.
Right.
Or 32 player.
Right. You never know.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Rick Hutson.
Hey, and thank you for all you do for putting a spotlight on our kids.
Oh, man. And
really appreciate you.
Thank you for all your help over the years. Like I said, even if your questionnaire was late, it was complete. If it was blank, I understood. Because you'd tell me, look, I told you, Lee, I don't have a whiteout. You'd leave a whiteout and blank.
We're trying to find that one.
I'll give you 7 DBs, but no tight end.
That's right.
Coach Rick Hutson retired. Congratulations to Rick. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching the Sports Scouting Report with Lieber King.